What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarthe, and recently on stream I've been doing a ton of PvP out in Sarthe, and pretty much a lot of people have either opened on me or I've done a lot of duels, and so I get this question asked all the time, but what is the ideal opener in PvP as a rogue? And so today we're going to dive into your opener as a rogue in PvP, and this is going to be different in all instances really, because I'm going to go over what you do against different classes, but this isn't like a full in-depth PvP guide. I know that Snow and Bobka are working together on some actual 1v1 guides, which when those come out, those are going to be absolutely amazing. So make sure to keep an eye out for those, because Bobka is a god. So this is going to be basically just a video going over your real ideal opener as a rogue. Alright guys, so first I'm going to show you what spec I am using. You can also be using the Hemo spec, or if you're using the combat spec, everything slightly changes the opener, but the opener has the exact real idea. So I pretty much am using the combat dagger imp sprint spec. So this spec is, in my opinion, my favorite for open world PvP, and as well as most 1v1s. You can pretty much win any 1v1 as this spec, especially if you end up using a Thistle T, which is like cheating in a duel. But the only people that are kind of scary as this spec would be like a Shadow Priest, a really good Ret or Shokadin Pally, and an incredibly good Hunter, or possibly a really good mage, but you can outplay a really good mage as this spec 100%. This is actually the ideal spec for going against mages, because Hemo spec is a little bit more challenging. Now, I'm pretty much just going to talk about what to do in the openers, and I'm going to have basically just clips play in the background, not very specific ones, because I will do a much more in-depth guide on things, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of what to do against pretty much every class. So the ideal opener in almost every single situation can change on kind of one or two things. The biggest thing is, do you have Renataki's Charm of Trickery? If you don't have Renataki's Charm of Trickery, and if you're not using Thistle T, then it will make a huge difference. Sort of. Renataki's pretty much gives you an ability to use 1 to 2 more of your main abilities, damage dealing abilities, instead of going into the next stun. So if you don't have Renataki's Charm, the ideal opener pretty much against any fight is a cheap shot into combo point builders, which are either Sinister Strike, Backstab, or Hemo, into a Gouge, into a Kidney Shot, into a Blind, and then you reset the fight. That is the basic way of winning every fight, right? If you do this, you will not lose. You will beat everybody. In different situations, if you have enough gear, or you notice that somebody is taking enough damage, and or if you have Renataki's or Thistle T, then you will open with a cheap shot into a Backstab or Sinister Strike or Hemo until you get low on energy, where you use Renataki's, get another one, and then you can go straight into either the Gouge or the Kidney Shot. I go into the Kidney Shot because if you are pumping and going hard on the opener with Renataki's, then your cheap shot will then end up giving you the ability to use another Backstab with Renataki's and get off a Kidney Shot. You won't have the energy yet to Gouge, but if you let somebody get out of a stun, that's basically the loss of a fight in general for rogues. So if per se a rogue opened on me and they did anything, like they didn't have enough energy to go for the Gouge or the Kidney or anything like that, the second they do that, the fight is over. I've won the fight. So again, there's times when this opener changes. If you are combat spec, an actual like raid spec, it's actually very easy to win 1v1s, even if you're dagger combo spec. But if you're not, either way, just use Adrenaline Rush, right? You open up with a cheap shot into an adrenaline rush right away. Cheap shot into adrenaline rush, your combo point builders, then either a gouge or a kidney shot. Usually a gouge so that you get a 5-point kidney shot, get a fat kidney shot, and then you can kill them within that. If you can't and you notice that they have enough health, don't end up wasting too much energy on another combo point builder or damage dealing ability like Sinister Strike or Backstab. Make sure you have the energy to blind. Make sure that at the end of the stun, you are blinding, resetting the fight, and doing it all over again. Now let's talk about the times or the matchups that you really want to change things up. Now the matchups differ on if somebody outgears you, if you're going against a mage or a shadow priest, if you're going against a hunter or a warrior, because hunters and warriors both have PvP trinkets that make them immune to stuns, so they're going to get out of one of your stuns no matter what. And a warrior, if they hit you hard, you're pretty much going to lose the fight. If you're trying to like just face tank a warrior, you're going to lose the fight. So let's start with mages, pretty much the favorite matchup. This is the ideal chess game matchup. Now a mage in a 1v1 is going to open or start out with basically getting their shields up. But if you have any tracker that can show you like Omni CC or anything like that, you can see how much time is left on that shield, and right before it's halfway, open with a sap. Then you're going to follow that up with a second sap so that by the time you open up on the mage, he actually does not have a shield anymore. This is the same thing for a shadow priest. It's less important against the mage because if you actually open up on the mage the second he does his shield, then he doesn't have another shield. But if you don't, he's going to blink anyways and gets a new shield up. So it's kind of your own choice. But the ideal opener on a mage is usually a damage dealing ability, right? Cheap shotting the mage does nothing. He's gonna blink. It doesn't matter what you do, he's gonna blink. So the best ideal, even if you are hemo or even if you are combat swords, the ideal opener is almost always going to be trying to go for a big ambush. An ambush is the best opener against a mage. He's instantly gonna blink, and then he's gonna try to sheep you if he is good. If he gets the sheep off, that's not really a lost fight because you could use your PvP trinket yourself, or you could use a Skull of Impending Doom, or you could vanish it. It doesn't really matter, but you want to open up with the ambush, and then you want to nade him. Your nade is going to land faster than he can sheep you because of the GCD of him blinking and then casting the sheep. So your nade is going to land faster. So always do this opener, basically ambush, nade. If he doesn't run, or if he tries to freeze you or something like Nova, then just sprint out of it. If he's gonna get the cast of the blind or of the sheep before you get to him, you can either blind or you can vanish it. You're pretty much gonna have to force 2 ice blocks as a mage, and I'm not going into like the full 1v1. I'm just going into the openers, so I should stop there. Pretty much you're opening with a damage dealing ability. You can open with a garrote as well. The ideal opener is a fat ambush. Hope that it crits. You do a decent amount of damage right at the beginning. Then you get a stun on him. You can close the gap, get a gouge and into a backstab. Almost every mage is almost dead here. They are for sure about to ice block, and then you're either going to blind them. If they don't get a cold snap ice block off fast enough, they're screwed. Let's just move on. I'll go into like 1v1s later. Now, the other situation, like I mentioned, is a priest. Now, a priest is a situation, especially a geared disc or shadow priest, is absolutely a situation where you are trying to kill this person before they can get out of a stun. And they have ways of resisting stuns, so you are trying to burn down a geared shadow or disc priest as fast as you can in pretty much every situation. And that's because they do a ton of damage, they can heal, and they don't take as much damage as most people. So they've got inner fire and everything. So your opener is the normal opener, the cheap shot. You definitely want to Renatakis or even Thistle Tea. If you're going against a rank 14 Shadow Priest, man, you want to Thistle Tea. You want to do a full stun rotation, and then you want to blind reset and do another full stun rotation. But like I mentioned earlier, your ideal opener does consist of you sapping right before the halfway mark goes off on their bubble so that you can sap one more time, and when you open on them, you don't have to burn through the bubble. You want to kill them before they can bubble, ideally. Kill them before they can get out of any stuns. If one of your stuns resists, instantly blind them. Hope he doesn't get a dot out on you first. Hope you don't get hit by a blackout proc, but even then, you can just pop a lot of DPS out on this guy, and that's pretty much how you win. And then the other situation for the most part is if you're going up against a warrior. That's the only other time you're going to really change things. Oh, and hunter. So a warrior that is extremely tanky, you are going to go with different bleed effects on him. If you're good at dead zoning, but I don't suggest this if you're not good at it, you would like to dead zone kite the warrior. That is just the way to do it. If you ever watch Shiro do anything against a warrior, he dead zone mocks them for the most part. He's incredible at it. So if you're not great at dead zoning, I wouldn't try it right away. A good warrior will have a shield on pretty much the whole fight, in all honesty, until you get a fat dodge. They can hit you with like an incredible overpower, but they don't even need that. A rank 14 warrior's one-handed is going to hit you crazily hard. You do still want to use evasion against the warrior, by the way, guys. But your opener is a normal stun lock opener. It depends if he's extremely tanky, and you should be able to notice it. In my gear, I still will burn down rank 14 warriors before they can get out of the stun lock. But if you're not going to win that way, you want to do multiple resets, which is one, right as he breaks your kidney shot. Is usually a good warrior is going to break the 5-point kidney shot with their trinket. Right as they break that, you want to blind before they can hit you, put any dots on you, because one hit can be 40% of your health. Expect them to use their PvP trinket always. And this is the same thing for a hunter, kind of. You're expecting a hunter to use their PvP trinket. Using Renatakis is probably the most useful trinket in the entire game, especially for PvP, but if you don't have this, you don't need to worry. You just go for a slower opener, which consists of using the gouge. But if the warrior has a shield on, I would not go for the gouge. It's almost always going to be blocked. Go for the early kidney shot into the blind, the early reset, and then go into the second opener. And then after you finish that second opener, that's when you're going to go into pretty much the bleed phase, where you're trying to kite or stay away from them, reset, and more things like that. A good warrior is also going to have like possibly last stand, but definitely a life-giving gem. So they're going to have a ton of health once they get out of their stun. And then last but not least, in the 1v1 opener phase is going to be hunters. Right as you open on them, a good hunter is pretty much going to PvP trinket, feign or scatter feign macro, or they're going to try to bait it out the scatter feign macro, because if you're an engineer, which you should be if you like to PvP a lot, you're going to use your gyro ice freeze reflector. And what this will do is pretty much make you immune to their trap. And that's like their whole play, right? Once they've already used their scatter and their feign death and you've blocked that trap, game's over. If you get hit by that trap, they can pretty much, a good hunter should be able to beat you every time. They're gonna go for the aim shot and also hit you with like a serpent sting, but also they need to get a flare on you, because obviously your first move is gonna be to vanish. Then you need to get out of the way and or sprint and get closer and vanish again. It's just a sketchy situation if you get stuck in that. You definitely absolutely can win those fights, and I will make a video basically showcasing these situations. But today I just wanted to like let you guys know these are the openers and these are how you want to go with it. On a hunter, you're still going for the stun opener. Most of the time in open world, a hunter's not going to have a PvP trinket, but if you're doing a duel against a good hunter, they're absolutely going to have a PvP trinket. Always expect everyone to have a PvP trinket and act accordingly. But if you don't have an ice reflector and you're going up against a hunter, two things. You can vanish batch the scatter, but you can also vanish batch the trap itself if you have the chance. So just be ready to vanish. That's like your play, right? Do your normal opener, your normal stun lock opener, and the second you see this PvP trinket go off, vanish. If he wastes scatter with your vanish, you won. Game's over. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is all I wanted to talk about today. I know this actually went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I didn't want to do a in-depth guide basically showcasing all of these situations, but I will. I'm assembling a ton of clips and I will showcase a ton of fights and how to deal with them. but that is pretty much your opener. Your ideal opener, as always, almost in every situation, is going to be this stun lock opener where you cheap shot. Make sure you have enough energy to either kidney shot, and that's if you're pumping with Renatakis, or you're going straight into the gouge, then into the kidney shot. Save your energy. You need to pool energy sometimes as you're fighting to make sure that you keep your targets stunned, and then you also need to save energy to be able to blind and reset. Now, the problem that most people have is always that they use a little bit too much energy and then they can't do their next ability right away, which means someone breaks out of stun for even a split second. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, that is the end of the fight. 1 second of not being stunned is the end of the fight. That's it. There's nothing else you're gonna do. I'm gonna kill you no matter what. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this sort of PvP content or me talking about and breaking down PvP situations, definitely let me know in the comments and I will do a lot more content on that. Make sure to swing by stream, twitch.tv/Sarthe every weekday, either at 2 p.m. PST or 5 p.m. PST. In the Discord, I always post if I'm going to go live early. And then from there, guys, just have a good time, honestly. If you want to see me doing a bunch of PvP live, come by the stream. There's a bunch of situations where we're doing 1v3s all the time. And this week, I'm actually going to meme around in Raid and test out the Seal Fate specs so that you guys can all get the answers for that. Because every single day, people ask me a ton in chat, when can I go Seal Fate? When is my gear good enough to go Seal Fate? So I will have answers for you next week. I will be raiding as Seal Fate next Monday. The answer's already really out there, and I've told this 1,000 times in chat, but I will be covering it all next week. Have a good weekend. Happy Halloween, guys, and I'll see you all on the next one.